today's lecture, we will discuss about guidelines for building design by sustainability assessment method such as GRIHA. So we will talk about green rating for integrated habitat assessment, GRIHA, which was framed by TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute, in collaboration with the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Resources, Government of India. So what is the rating process over here? They start with the online registration. The project team can initiate the registration process by filling the expression of interest form available on the GRIHA website. The process of registration is completed after the successful payment of registration fee by the project team. Once the project is registered, the project team is provided with a username and password for submitting the documentation on the GRIHA online portal. The second stage is the orientation workshop. The registration is followed by an orientation workshop conducted by GRIHA Council officials, which intends to provide detailed information on the of the rating system, along with an elaborate explanation to all the criteria and post addressing project specific queries of the teams. Well, after this, they carry out due diligence stage 1. The site visit shall be conducted by GRIHA Council officials to validate sustainable measures adopted during the construction phase. It will be scheduled post the project has reached its plinth level. The due diligence report should be uploaded on the panel within 20 working days from the site visit, followed by an uploading of a compliance report by the project team within the next 15 working days. This is to ensure that the project abides by the mandatory requirements of the rating. Next comes a due diligence 2. The second visit shall be conducted by the GRIHA Council officials to validate internal finishes, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical components installed during the construction phase. It is scheduled post completion of the building structure work. The due diligence report should be uploaded on the panel within 20 working days from the site visit, following by an uploading of a compliance report by the project team within the next working 15 days. Further comes submission of documents. As the project is nearing completion, the project proponent will upload the documents for all criteria on the online panel using the username and password provided at the time of the registration. Further comes preliminary evaluation. After the online submission of the documents, the preliminary evaluation is carried out by a team of professionals from GRIHA Council and external evaluators who are experts in their respective fields recognized by GRIHA Council. The documentation must be complete in every aspect of all attempted criteria along with the commissioning report. Any attempted criteria with incomplete documentation shall not be evaluated. Online calculators provided for specific criteria need to be filled and submitted. The GRIHA Council officials shall first review the compliance of all criteria and establish compliance with mandatory criteria, followed by estimation of the total number of achievable points. A preliminary evaluation report shall be submitted within 60 working days after document submission. Further comes final due diligence. The final site visit shall be conducted by the GRIHA Council officials to verify the submitted documentation with on-site implementation. The visit is done once the project is complete and all equipment and systems are installed and commissioned. The due diligence report shall be uploaded on the panel within 20 working days from the site visit. The final evaluation comes in the last. The GRIHA Council officials along with external evaluators shall then evaluate the final round of submitted documentation and the final site visit report in response to the preliminary evaluation. On the basis of this evaluation, the GRIHA Council shall prepare a final scorecard within 30 working days after the project team furnishes requisite information sought during preliminary evaluation and due diligence visits. The final rating is awarded based on the final evaluation and is valid up to 5 years. Further comes additional due diligence green awareness drive. The GRIHA Council conducts an additional due diligence visit post the final rating for green awareness and education among project occupants. This visit aims to impart basic knowledge and understanding on green buildings and their way of working. This awareness program could be organized within 12 months of occupancy of the project. Then comes rating renewal. There are two ways in which the rating can be renewed and the project gets to enjoy the perks of being called a rated building. This can be done either by submitting an audit data report over a span of 3 consecutive years, comprising energy, water, and waste report to be prepared by BEE certified energy auditor, and by enrolling the project for GRIHA EB rating to maintain its certification for the next cycle of 5 years. So we have actually currently green rating structure of GRIHA version 2019, the overall sequence of criteria and their appraisals have been changed in the GRIHA version 2019 from the previous editions. This version now has 11 sections subdivided into 30 criteria. So we will see one by one. So this is actually the entire criteria set of GRIHA actually present structure version 2019, including this page. So it has a sections, then criteria numbers, then criteria name, and then the maximum points allocated to that particular criteria. So it starts from the sustainable site planning. It has a number of criteria, then it goes to the construction management, then it has a energy optimization section, then it goes to occupant comfort, then water management, then solid waste management, then sustainable building materials, then life cycle costing, then it goes to socio-economic strategies, and finally performance metering and monitoring. Further, there is one more point of innovation added to this entire actually criteria set, and as a total it has 105 points in totality, including 5 dedicated only for innovations. So we will see the GRIHA version 2019 and its in its structure. So if you see starting from this green actually circle over here, sustainable site planning, so it has a 12% share given to this section. Then construction management has received 4% share. Then the energy optimization has received a 18% share. So you see this is the largest actually share is actually holded by this energy optimization actually section, which clearly shows how important it is to conserve and preserve energy. Then rest gets attention. The next is occupant comfort. It has a 12% share. Then water management 16%. So 16%, with 16% water management is the second actually highest share receiving actually section. So this shows actually about the criticality of saving water. Then we have solid waste management with the 6% share. Then we have 12% for a sustainable building materials. So this also you can say there are three actually sections who have 12% share. So the this sustainable building material section also comes at the a third level in terms of the percentage share what it has. And then it goes to life cycle costing with 5%. Then it comes to socio-economic strategies, it has 8% share, and finally performance metering and monitoring with 7% share. So we will see finally the breakup in the coming slides. Well, the percentile of actually awarding star varies with this actually point threshold. You can see over here a project which receives the points within a range of 25 to 40 is rated as per a single star GRIHA rating, and the projects which are actually falling short of a 25% on their project, they may not be actually given any star rating, and they may not be actually given any star GRIHA rating. Then in the next slab, the point range between 41 to 55, it receives a 2-star rating. Then 56 to 73 stars, 71 to 85 4-star, and 86 points and above, that project receives GRIHA 5-star rating, which is the highest rating available currently from a GRIHA. Features of version 2019 GRIHA. Let's see. There are some mandatory appraisals. So these are mandatory, and a project actually must comply on these mandatory actually parameters to be actually considered for GRIHA actually rating system. So this is very important for the project to have these criteria is actually fulfilled and satisfied to the fullest. So in GRIHA version 2019, no points are awarded to mandatory appraisals. However, if the project fails to comply with any of them, in such a scenario, the rating will be denied. So as it is stated over here, these mandatory points actually do not carry any points, but they are mandatory in nature, and a project actually must comply with these actually criteria sets. And only after a successful satisfaction, after successful actually meeting the criteria of these mandatory appraisals, the project can be actually rated. So the rest of the actually criteria which are optional, they are actually have found place in the rating structure that what we saw in the previous slides. So a non-linear point distribution system, this is one of the features of a present version of GRIHA. This talks about the concept of non-linear point distribution is applicable throughout this rating variant. This is done to recognize and award points based on the increased efforts to meet the requirements given in the appraisals. For example, observe the point distribution for low impact design as mentioned in table 3. We will see it later. So the table 3 is here addition of like a new criteria. The new criteria that have been added in the rating system are given below. Why this like for example, like a green infrastructure is the new criteria added in this present version of GRIHA 2019. Commissioning for final rating, reduction in the CO2 emission of the building, alternative building materials for external site development, for example like life cycle cost analysis, water quality and self-sufficiency, and finally positive social impact. So this is the classification of various buildings according to their like a typology. So these are the actually healthcare, hospitality, institutional, offices, residential, retail, and transit terminal types of like a typologies of like a different like a buildings, under which there are some actually variations in these buildings. So these are the actually currently buildings typologies which are actually rated with the help of like a GRIHA. So in this healthcare facility, you can see over there the hospital, clinics, medical colleges, dispensaries, they fall under like this typology, and hotels, guest houses, service apartments, they fall under like a hospitality typology, and universities, schools, colleges, libraries, institutes, sports complexes, they fall under like institutional typology of the building, and similarly like these many. So we will move further to the for checking like each and every like a section for the criteria sets what they have and the kind of like a points which are given to them. So one by one, starting from the first one, which is sustainable site planning section. So this has you can see there are three criterias vis-a-vis green infrastructure, which carries 5 points. It has like a low impact design, it has like design to mitigate urban heat island effect. This receives 2 points. Together this actually section holds 12 actually points for this like this section. So we can see from here it starts from the like a site planning. So site planning actually comes in the preliminary at the beginning of the design or any conceptualization. So we must actually take a consideration of the site actually situations, site actually location, and the natural features, and the presence of elements on that particular site, and how the design can come up in and around actually those concerns. So this is one of the major and the preliminary actually sections and criteria sets where actually the design and conceptualization begins for like a taking shape. This talks about establishing actually green infrastructure. Green infrastructure means like energy harvesting units, means like energy conserving actually procedures and methodologies, plus following the like saving on the like a material and resources part. Then it talks about using like a low impact designs. We have discussed in detail like what are the like impacts caused by the this growth and development scenario in the present world, post industrial actually period. So the designs which are actually causing like a lesser impacts are the preferred ones in the today's time, and they have found place over here. So this is one of the most important actually criterias as far as like a sustainability aspects on environmental concerns are like a concern. Further, it talks about reducing the urban heat island effect. We have discussed in detail in our previous lectures. So the urban heat island effect is the collective actually a catchment of like a heat factor, heat component of the like a sunlight, and creating a heat bubble on the like over the like cities in the. So this is actually recent phenomena which has been like taking shape by the extensive use of like a heat absorbing materials such as like metals, such as like a concrete, bricks, etc., because these are the materials which actually absorb heat component, and this heat component actually is released in the air in the night time, and even in the rest of the time of the entire actually day and night durations. So the designs which actually try mitigating or try minimizing this UHI effect, this point has also found actually place in this actually particular section. So if you see that the mandatory point in this particular section is like to ensure that the site plan is in conformity with the development plan, master plan, or UDPFI guidelines. This should comply with the provisions of eco-sensitive zone regulations, coastal zone regulations, heritage areas identified in the master plan or issued separately as specific guidelines, water body zones such as like in such zones in no construction is permitted in the water spread or buffer belt of minimum 30 meters from the like a full tank level, various hazard prone area regulations, and others if the site falls under such area. Further, any other relevant legal approval pertaining to the project for clearance from the necessary government authority has to be compliant. For that, there is actually appendix also. So as we can see over here, the project must comply with the city planning, the master plan actually of that particular place, and it must actually comply to the regulations, if there are any like eco-sensitive regulations, such as like forest areas, or maybe coastal zone regulations, or maybe heritage zone regulations, etc. So unless project actually complies completely on these actually mandatory actually parameters, one cannot actually proceed for the like a GRIHA certifications. Next comes in the mandatory actually criteria over here. This talks about demonstrate that the project team implements tree preservation measures as per the alternative mentioned below. Alternative 1, ensure that no existing mature tree on site is cut. So this is one of the very important and I think lovable point from the like environmentalists, that we must actually take care of, we must actually preserve the mature trees on the ground at any cost. If a project has to come up at the location of that tree, so there must be actually alternative arrangements to relocate that tree from that location to some other location, but we must not actually cut any tree. So this is one of the mandatory criterias under the framework of GRIHA. Alternative 2, it talks about transplant existing mature trees if required within the site and ensure that they survive. Alternative 3, plant 3 trees for every 1 tree cut of the same native or naturalized species. Alternative 4, adopt any combination of the previously mentioned alternatives. So in a nutshell, if you see, preserving the trees, preserving the existing actually flora from the like that particular site is a mandatory actually parameter. Further, we are moving into the next section, that is construction management section. So we can see over here the pollution actually gets the importance over here. So the air and soil pollution control, water pollution control, all sorts of actually pollutions must be controlled, and for that there is allocation of like a 1 point. Then comes like a topsoil preservation. So with the construction activities, the topsoil actually gets degraded by the falling of the like a debris, for the falling of the like a cement and other compounds, and even like a oil, grease, etc. And that actually topsoil is very important for the growth of the vegetation and the other like plants and trees, etc. So we must protect actually this topsoil. This topsoil actually houses the several types of like microbes and other organisms also. So we must actually protect this topsoil. Finally, it has like the third point of like a construction management practices. So a responsible construction management practices which takes care of his like employees and the manpower who are like employed on the that project. So this actually receives 2 points. So overall this section has got actually 4 points. The mandatory points here are like adopt at least 6 measures to minimize air and soil pollution during construction, provide 3-meter high continuous barricading along the side boundaries so that the pollution or the spillover like dust and debris should not actually go out of the project area, provide wheel washing facility, gravel bed at all vehicular entrance and exits of the site, so there are no actually footprints of the like a soil and mud on the like external roads, on the like arterial roads outside the project area. Ensure diesel generation sets are in compliance with the CPCB norms and have an exhaust with the stack out height of at least 2 meters from the top of the generator with the cap. Implement a spill prevention plan for like a storage of diesel, add mixtures, curing compounds, bitumen and other hazardous material. Ensure that fine aggregate excavated earth and other construction material with a tendency to get airborne are covered or are sprinkled regularly with non-potable STP water. STP water is like a sewage treatment plant water. Next to that is like ensure sprinkling of water on unpaved pathways on the site with non-potable water in order to mitigate air pollution. Limit the speed of vehicular movement on site to 10 kmph. Ensure that vehicles carrying waste material out of the site are covered. So if you see like all of these points actually talk about preventing pollution in this way or the other, in this form or the other, whether it is like for the like air pollution, for the like a soil pollution, you know. So there are actually, these are actually mandatory points which a project actually must take care of while actually under the construction. Next to this, there are some points such as like adopt at least 2 strategies from the list as given below to minimize water consumption during the construction. So use of gunny bags, pondering techniques or curing compound. Meter and monitor the consumption of water during construction. Use water reducing admixture in concrete mix. Use of treated wastewater and or like a captured storm water. So it actually these water related points are also like a mandatory points on this like a construction management like this section over here. So we can see clearly over here it talks about like minimizing the consumption of the water, starting from that concept which we have discussed in the previous like lectures, and then conserving actually the water. So the water should not get evaporated so quickly, so use the use of the gunny bags and other like a bonding techniques and curing compounds should also be used on the site for like a for reducing the actually wastage of water. So these are the actually points which are related with the water conservation on the site. Further to this, if we see energy optimization section, so in this section also there are like a three criteria points: energy optimization, renewable energy utilization, and low ODP and GWP material. So if we see like these points have found actually a lot of weightage over here. So energy optimization in itself is a single criteria with 12 actually points allocated only for this actually criteria over. So we can understand the intensity and the kind of a criticality of this energy optimization in the recent times, and the kind of a weightage it has received over there in this GRIHA framework. Further, like a renewable energy utilization are also increased with the award of like a 5 points, and then like a ozone depleting like a potential materials, another like a greenhouse gas kind of like a global warming actually potential materials and compounds should also be actually discouraged, and even if they have to be used, then they must be actually in a very low quantity. So this has actually also found a place over here, and with the total 18 like a maximum points of like 18, this criteria is one of is the topmost criteria with the highest actually weightage. The mandatory points over here are like ensure that the project demonstrates compliance with the mandatory requirements of ECBC 2017 as per appendix. There is a table actually given in the annexer. Ensure that the project meets the GRIHA benchmark of EP I5 as per the table 3.3. Ensure that the equipment installed within the project, whichever applicable as per the given table, is either B star labeled or of equivalent performance. So there are like these standard like a B star rating system is there. So the equipment must actually comply to this star rating system. And the table 3.5 list of B star labeled equipment, star labeled. So these are the actually LED and TFL based like equipment, unitary and split air conditioner like a ceiling fans, geysers, UPS. So these are the actually list of the equipment which must actually comply to the BEE star rating system. Further to that, if we see like ensure installation of on-site and off-site renewable energy system to offset a part of the annual energy consumption of internal artificial lighting HVAC and domestic hot water systems as mentioned in the table. Demonstrate that 100% of the annual energy consumption of internal artificial lighting HVAC and domestic hot water systems is offset through off-site renewable energy systems. So these are the actually mandatory points. So a hardcore actually a promotion of renewable energy resources. Further to this actually section, ensure that all the insulation used in the building envelope and for HVAC systems are CFC and HCFC free. We have discussed in one of the previous lectures the importance of insulation and sealing in the buildings to conserve actually energy. Ensure that the refrigerant used in the HVAC systems and refrigeration equipment is CFC and HCFC free. Ensure that the fire suppression systems and the fire extinguishers installed in the project are halon free. So there is actually very critical actually focus on the protection of the ozone layer by using actually non-CFC actually products and articles. In the next section, this belongs to like a occupant comfort section. So this has like a three criteria sets: visual comfort, thermal and acoustic comfort, and indoor air quality. Well, these are the most basic actually comfort conditions desirable for like a human actually uses to be actually undertaken for like any like a occupied actually atmosphere. So these have actually found a place. So visual comfort, you may be surprised to see over here, even like having look of the like a beautiful like a views outside, whether it is a green area, whether it is like the activity area, whether it is a marketplace or any like a such activity where one can see actually greenery, or maybe the movement or the activity of the like other human beings or the other life forms. Okay, it is considered one of the important actually comforting like a points for the humanity on keeping in mind the like a psychological effects which can happen if the person is kind of locked inside a actually closed room where there is no opening or there is no actually visual available for the like inside outside actually world. So this has actually found a place apart from the regular like a thermal and acoustic and indoor air quality considerations. In this actually section, if you see, ensure that window to wall ratio does not exceed 60% and the vertical fenestration complies with minimum VLT of like a 0.27. Ensure that the project meets HSGC compliance as per table 4.2, weighted facade average HSGC for each orientation. Ensure that the SRR does not exceed like a 5% and SHGC for skylight 2 does not exceed 0.35. Ensure that all the habitable spaces are within the luminance level of 100 lux to 2000 lux for the minimum percentage of floor area prescribed in the like a given table for 90% of the potential daylit time in a year. UDI compliance can be demonstrated through simulation using validated software. So you can see like how much of the emphasis is given on even the like illuminance level inside the like spaces. So depending upon the utility and activity, okay, in the particular areas, this illuminance should vary actually from 100 to 2000 lux. Further, demonstrate through simulation that the project meets mean DA requirement more than like 300 lux for the percentage of annual analysis hours as listed in the table for 100% of the habitable spaces. Demonstrate through simulation that the artificial lighting lux level fall within limits lower and higher range as per recommended space or task specific lighting levels in NBC 2016 part 8 section 1 table 4 and meet a minimum in uniformity ratio of 0.4. So these are the actually mandatory points as far as like the lighting levels are concerned, the lighting comfort is concerned inside the spaces. Demonstrate that the project meets the thermal comfort requirements of all regularly occupied spaces. Ensure that all interior wall and ceiling finishes such as primers, paints, putty, etc. have like a volatile organic compounds in a, like a lower like a percentage content as per the appendix 4C table 1 and are lead free. So lead is one of the like a most toxic actually substances which was conventionally used in the construction material, but once it was like a discovered, then afterwards like this lead is completely banned to be used in the like a any like a materials which are going to be used in the like a habitable spaces of like the buildings. Further coming down to the next section of like a water management, here we see like there are 4 criteria sets: water demand reduction 4 points, wastewater treatment 2 points, rainwater management 5 points, water quality and self-sufficiency 5 points. So with total 16 points. Further in this the mandatory points are demonstrate reduction in building water demand from GRIHA base case. So there is a base case actually given for like a several actually criteria sets. So a GRIHA actually project, GRIHA rated project must comply at least at the level of that base case or even like a higher. Ensure that the project meets water quality norms as per the CPCB rules and BIS as mentioned in the appendix. So we can see over here in this one, so it talks about this water management section talks about reducing the demand first of all, so that there is a less consumption of water, less amount of like this resource is required in the building. And then there are like a treatment actually facilities are also actually considered over here, so that the used water or the maybe some other forms of water can be reused on the site for like a other like a non-potable like activities and requirements. Rainwater management, so that the rains actually supply the fresh water, pure water, unless it is like it gets polluted through the like a passing through the atmosphere through like a poisonous gases and other particulate matter. Otherwise rainwater is considered to be one of the safest one for like a drinking and other like utilization purposes. So storing like this water for like a on-site uses or even like rainwater harvesting, so this is one of the actually important actually criterias given over it. It has actually received 5 points, so you can see the importance of it. Water quality and self-sufficiency, so this water maintaining the water quality to maintaining the actually hygiene and maintaining the quality for the, like a human consumption, and self-sufficiency, so that the site itself is like a has actually this self-sufficiency in meeting the actually requirement of the water on site. Further after this this section, we have the solid waste management section. Here we are having like a 2 criteria sets. for example, waste management post occupancy and organic waste treatment on site. So both of them have respectively received 4 and 2 actually points. So this actually talks about post occupancy. There must be actually a waste management actually system on the site, to whether it is related with the segregation, whether it is related to like sending it to the responsible actually agency and the or the recycling unit for like recycling or reusing, or that further like a disposal. So a responsible actually disposal system must be in the place by having actually waste management actually system on the site. Well, organic waste treatment on site is important, because the organic waste from for example like a kitchen waste and other like organic stuff which we generally actually are like created in the like a kitchen, and then elsewhere like from like a pruning of the trees and plants and etc. So this kind of waste actually must not go outside the site and should be recycled on site itself. Okay, the various forms, various techniques, and the usages are actually given for, are being run actually from several NGOs and other agencies to have actually on-site composting systems, on-site actually dissolving system, on-site actually a disposal system for this organic waste, or maybe it can be reused for like other maybe on-site like purposes. Mandatory criteria under like this section is to demonstrate compliance with all government notified waste management rules. So it is very important for the project to actually comply the waste management actually rules and guidelines in the from the like local authorities. Next to in this line with this new section, we have like a sustainable building materials section. So here we have utilization of alternative materials in the building. Here we have reduction in the actually greenhouse actually potential reduction through like a life cycle assessment, the LCA method, the EIA method, what we discussed in the like a previous methods. So actually such kind of actually potential materials must be actually discouraged on the site. And finally like the alternative materials for like external site development. So the site development works also can be actually handled by using like alternate materials. And of course the first one, if you see, it has like received 5 points. This talks about the utilization of alternative materials in the buildings. So the idea itself is to use actually less impacting materials by actually going ahead with the alternative materials. For example, we studied in the previous actually lecture of the sustainable materials that the fly ash is one of the actually materials, a byproduct of like a certain industry which the construction industry has actually adopted. The fly ash comes from the actually coal plants. Okay, so it's an actually a byproduct of the coal based actually industries and power generation units. So a huge quantity of this fly ash actually gets accumulated. And earlier actually fly ash is one of the a very less productive material. It doesn't have actually any like a moisture content or any organic content, so it becomes a very bad for like if it is thrown in the agricultural fields. So earlier it used to create a lot of problem in the agricultural field. It used to actually fly away from the these like sites through the like wind and air. So the provisions were actually made, and this actually a discovery was made like how this material can be utilized through like other like by actually designing like other alternative like materials. So this fly ash based bricks and construction blocks were actually designed. So the such kind of alternative materials must be used on the site. Further to this, in this section, we are having a life cycle costing section. This session talks about actually this LCA analysis, which we have studied in the like previous lectures. So there is a lot of emphasis actually given on to like assessing the life cycle of any product or any component which is going to be used in the building industry. So the high impacting material must be actually discouraged through this analytical tool for being used at the sites. So that is why this tool is important, to understand actually the embodied energy, to understand the actually overall impact a product can actually exert on the like environment. Further to this, if we see, we have a socio-economic strategies section where there are like 4 criteria points given. So the first one is safety and sanitation for construction workers, further universal accessibility, dedicated facilities for service staff, and finally positive social impact. So all of these actually criteria have received 1, 2, 2 and 4 points respectively. So I'll talk about the first one, the safety and sanitation for construction workers. Traditionally, or like the earlier, the construction workers who were employed on the sites, they were actually not taken care of. They used to actually live in a very bad situations for like their habitation. They were actually not provided with the potable actually water, and sanitation facilities also used to be not existing on those sites. In the recent years, we have seen this development of actually taking care of our like a workforce on the site, so that the gents and the ladies along with their kids who reside on the on the site for the construction actually activity must be actually taken care of. So their basic necessities and the other requirement must be actually fulfilled, such as like a water and sanitation activities. Universal accessibility actually talks about the inclusive growth and development actually model. So it talks about actually taking care of the other like especially abled like a persons also of the society, like who are having some kind of difficulty in their like a motion or a visual or like a auditory or any other sort of. So the design of the building, the design of the actually premises should be in compliance to actually take care of like such our like a respected persons also on the site, so that they do not face any difficulty while accessing the building. Dedicated facilities for service staff, so that they can actually take care of themselves on the site itself. There is no actually worry to go out of the site for actually attending like their necessary like activities. Finally, positive social impact. So this is one of the very important points which have evolved in the like recent years, like having on the, it has to do a lot to do with the social sustainability angle which we have discussed earlier. So a building must have actually some connection, some relationship with the local, with the like with the community, with the place, with the culture of that place. So how this building is going to have some like a positive social impact must also be actually encouraged through the design, through its operation, through its like a uses. And that is why this point is over there. So this actually enhances the presence of a building. This actually binds this building, binds this project, binds these occupants of this building with the local society and the local community. In the mandatory actually points, if we see, there are a few points given: ensure compliance with the requirements of NBC National Building Code 2016 for all the following these actually parts. Part 1, provision of necessary safety equipment and safety measures for the construction workers. Part 2, provision of clean drinking water, hygienic working and living conditions and sanitation facilities for the workers. Part 3, provision of creche facility for the children of construction worker in case their families are allowed to work or live at the construction site. So you can see these three actually points. These are very very humane actually considerations. Very very humanely actually attitude is shown from these construction actually projects, because earlier most of these points were actually not taken care of, and the our like a workforce used to actually get receive actually not so actually healthy or like a supporting environments while working or while staying on the site. So a basic necessities such as like a water, sanitation, and the living facility and the taking care facility for the like children of these like the people who are employed, who are working on these sites. And finally, the safety of the workers who are working on the site. So the safety comes first of like any activity or anything whatever is going on the construction project. So a project actually must comply on the safety standards and safety measures to take care of like all of the workers, all of the workforce who are employed on the site. And there must be actually adequate arrangements to not to have any like accidents or any like casualties on any project. Next to this, the mandatory points demonstrate that the project team implements tobacco smoke control measures in case of air conditioned and non-air conditioned buildings as per the alternatives mentioned below. These are the mandatory actually measures. So alternative 1, ensure that tobacco smoking is completely prohibited within the site premises. Alternative 2, ensure that designated smoking zones or areas are provided and the smoke is managed within a controlled environment in case of air conditioned buildings. Additionally, there must be restriction to smoking in public spaces. Well, smoking in public places is already banned by the government of India, and now it is a public law that one cannot smoke in the public spaces. So construction site being a public space where there are like n number of people working together, so this smoking cannot be allowed in any form on the construction site. So this must be actually taken care of. Additionally, if there is like a any like a air conditioned space where there is like a demarcated area, then a demarcated area can be actually constructed for like a smokers, clearly marked, where the exhaust system can actually work more efficiently to take out the actually exhaust or the fumes of that smoke separately, without disturbing the actually other people on the actually location. Further to this, we have next section of a performance metering and monitoring section. So this section is dedicated actually mainly for the evaluation and the performance actually monitoring of the building, like how the building is actually faring over the time, how much of like consumption it is doing for the like other resources and energy particularly. So this actually section takes care of like a such responsibility. So it has like a three dedicated like points of like a commissioning for like a final rating, smart metering and monitoring, and operation and maintenance protocol. So the first and the third actually criteria are not given any point, but the middle point has like the 6 points. So this talks about smart metering and monitoring, so that the constant monitoring and resource consumption can be actually taken care of. So there's in case of like any fluctuation, if it is the consumption is going very high, so the leakage or any that that tentative area can be actually addressed and rectified on in the given time. Here if you see this table talks about the points of like ensuring that the third party commissioning is conducted for the systems mentioned in that like a table. So the system types, for example, like other very important like building services such as like HVAC, lighting and electrical, water and waste. So the descriptions, if you see on the like on the commissioning part, like air side AHU, fan coil units, cassettes units, and floor mounted units, and the water side like a cooling towers, chillers, primary and secondary pumps and motors, boilers, service hot water, electric, gas or oil based like boilers. For the electrical and lighting sides, all circuits, sensors, occupancy or day lighting evaluations, also transformers, digiset, LT panels, renewable energy systems. For the water actually system, the domestic water pumps and motors, sewage treatment plants, for the waste, organic waste, composters, vermicomposters, garbage chutes, and other mechanical waste disposal and treatment systems should be placed. So these are the actually systems which must be actually monitored and should be actually evaluated regularly for the overall like upkeepment, safe upkeepment of the site. The mandatory points over here are to ensure that a commissioning plan is developed and implemented for the system as given in the table. Additionally, maintain a record of finding logs and their rectifications during the entire period of construction, installation, and functional testing of systems. Further, demonstrate compliance with the following source metering requirements as mentioned in the table. Further to this, there are some more mandatory points. Ensure that a core facility or service group is formed within which will be responsible for operations and management of the building systems and equipment post installation. So there must be actually team on site, present all the time to check and measure these actually systems. Ensure the inclusion of a specific clause in the contract document of the systems supplier for providing training to the core facility or service group responsible for the operation and maintenance of the building system. So the supplier or the manufacturer of that particular equipment, for example like HVAC, must actually give training to the team with the maintenance team which is present on the site for the better upkeepment of the equipment. Further to this, ensure the development of operation and management protocol in the form of manual, series, multimedia, information brokers, enlisting the best practices of O&M of the building systems. So the information dissipation is also important. This kind of like a knowledge resources actually should be prepared for a dissemination and easy actually referencing for the team deputed on the site. Finally, we have this innovation section. So this innovation section has received 5 criteria points. So 5 criteria points means it is an important actually criteria set over here. With innovation can happen into any like a segment, any like a life cycle stage, or any like a process or techniques or technology or the material, or the approach. So innovation is actually barrier free. That is why actually there is no particularly actually finer criteria or finer actually consideration given for this actually criteria set over here. Rather it is open for experimentation from the like a designer, from the architect, engineers, manufacturers, from the like a construction actually management team, or even the owner or the builder of that particular project, or even the like occupants. So anybody, any stakeholder of a project can go for actually adopting any innovative measures, and that is why this actually criteria is given to promote the actually idea of innovation, to be implemented on the construction sites, on the construction projects, on the like building designs. That is why it is important for us to actually pay some attention to the innovative ideas, creative ideas, which can be actually applied on like a design project. So sustainability being the like a major concern in the like recent times, it has become very critical, very important to be addressed. So in what ways we can deal with the overall objective of such like a rating systems with the innovative ideas, innovative like a technology adaptations of the materials, or maybe using some alternative methods or alternative like mechanisms to come up with some energy saving or material saving actually ways. So this actually criteria is dedicated for actually serving all of those innovative ideas and approaches which are adopted on particular site. So we must actually give some attention to this criteria as well. So with this we have come to the end of all the sections. So we have discussed and learned like how these criterias which are given in this rating systems are very important, and some of the criterias which are falling under the mandatory category, even though they do not carry any points, but they are mandatory in the nature. If a project fails to satisfy those criteria which are mandatory, that project cannot actually proceed with the GRIHA certification. In addition to this, the GRIHA has actually considered and has actually laid these maps, which I would like to share with you over here. So this maps actually talks about demarcating actually forest types which are prevalent across the length and breadth of the our country India. So you can see starting from the like a Jammu Kashmir, this Baltistan regions, from the like this Ladakh region, directly from like till the like a Kerala and Tamil Nadu region, and ranging from the like Kutch of the like Gujarat till the like Arunachal Pradesh, till the corner of this Mizoram and Tripura, Manipur, Nagaland and Sikkim. So we can see over here the types of the forest types which are given over here with the color code. The legend is given over here. So it has like a Himalayan dry temperate forest, we have like a Himalayan moist temperate forest, littoral swamp forest, we have like a mountain wet temperate forest, we have like a subalpine and alpine actually forest, we have subtropical broadleaf hill forest, we have subtropical dry evergreen forest, we have subtropical pine forests, we have tropical dry deciduous forest, we have tropical dry evergreen forest, we have tropical moist deciduous forest, we have tropical semi evergreen forest, we have tropical thorn forest, we have tropical wet evergreen forest. So these are the number of actually varieties in the forest, which actually gives an idea of the biodiversity in the like a flora, in the vegetation, in the like a trees, in the like a forest, what the kind of a diversity which India actually has. So why is it important over here is to discuss in the like this green rating actually lecture over here, because whenever we are actually designing a project, whenever we are conceptualizing a project, whenever we are detailing a project, we must actually take care of the local condition, the local soil, the local geography, the local climatology, the local actually topography, the local actually demographics, the local actually vegetation, the flora and fauna and the biodiversity of that place, because the design must actually be rooted to that particular place, and we must actually undertake actually such studies before starting the project, to understand what kind of actually biodiversity, what kind of actually the forest system, what kind of like other like life forms, living species are actually existing in those areas. Because in one of the lectures we discussed a strong push is actually given to the northeastern like states of Arunachal, this is like a Nagaland, then we have Manipur, we have Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram and Sikkim. So along with this we have like 8 states falling in this actually region. So these regions, this region is actually very one of the most like a biodiverse region, one of the hot spots of like of the biodiversity, recognized by the United Nations, recognized by the several other like agencies from across the world. So while actually undertaking such like a growth and development actually works, we must actually pay attention to what kind of vegetation, what kind of forest are there in those particular areas. Moving on to the next slide, here we have like a agroclimatic zones and a native species of for like each zone of the India. So you can see over here the different varieties, like what sorts of like agroclimatic zones are there. So this list is also given over here. For example, we can see the location of Delhi. Okay, so this falls under like a northern plain, alluvial derived soil, semi-arid, between 90 to 150 days a year. And for example, if we see like our currently if you see the city of Hyderabad, so this is lying under like this Deccan Plateau, red and black soil and semi-arid, with between 90 to 150 days per year. So this is the kind of diversity which India has. So we must conform our designs, we must route our designs to these local situations. So that is why I kept these maps also here in this discussion, in this lecture, for our understanding. Further, so with this we are coming to the end of this lecture. So well, you can always go to the GRIHA website. Okay, they have kept all of their GRIHA rating manuals and other supportive documents for download, for referencing, free of the cost. So you can see what kind of additions they have in the GRIHA, the kind of literature, the kind of the reading material they provide along with these rating specification tools. So apart from the basic GRIHA, they have several other types of the GRIHA. There is this SWAGRIHA. So SWAGRIHA is meant for like a smaller projects, for example a smaller residential house. Okay, so an owner can himself or herself do some evaluation locally. They do not require, they do not need GRIHA certified assessors and assessment team. So that is a very simple and very like a comprehensive approach it has. So one can assess a smaller project, okay, on their own. So this is to promote a self awareness, a kind of a self initiative which we as an individual can take without taking technical help. If our project is not big enough, so how still we can manage. Because why this is important? Because if we count the number of projects from across India, so the institutional or industrial or any such recreational or a hospitality or a hospitals, so these number of buildings are still far lesser if we compare to the residential buildings what we have. So almost every household, if even if they own one single house, so just imagine the number of houses what we have in our country. So beginning from independent site based houses to the flats, to the row houses, to the houses on a remote locations, houses of vernacular types. So all sorts of houses. So how in these in the latest times of this the concrete and brick and steel and glass based construction systems, how we can take care of minimizing the impacts. So that is the purpose of SWAGRIHA. It helps us very nicely, very efficiently. So I think you must refer these literature on your own for your better understanding. Further, there is this GRIHA large development format. So this important for the bigger infrastructure projects. For example, I would like to mention the name of IIT Gandhinagar over here. So the IIT Gandhinagar is one of the recently GRIHA 5-star rated project, which has brought attracted laurels from all quarters, and it has become a kind of a role model building a design scheme, building planning scheme, which can be utilized from a public sector at any given place. So IIT Gandhinagar, the design of the Gandhinagar IIT Gandhinagar campus has taken care of very nicely with whether it is a selection of the construction material, whether it is selection of the construction techniques. For example, the incumbent director of IIT Gandhinagar, Professor Sudhir Jain, he himself is civil engineer, and he has put up a lot of effort and a lot of attention. He has paid personal attention to this project, to execute this project. So starting from the conceptualization to the design to the detailing and in the execution, he has been always involved. Even can they have the team of the designers, team of the architects, they have followed the local actually neighborhood concept of like the older city of the Ahmedabad, where in the vicinity this campus is actually located. So they have actually followed the concept of this OL and POL. Actually these are the actually local names of the residential actually neighborhoods and the commercial actually markets. So this is how actually they have designed this IT Gandhinagar using the traditional value system also. And this actually place falls under a very hot and arid region, so they have actually designed several shading actually mechanisms in the campus, and they have utilized local materials. They have used these confined masonry actually technique to minimize the uses of the material, plus increase the strength in the structure. And there are actually several means and things they have actually adopted in this project. We will talk about this the design and planning of IIT Gandhinagar in one of the upcoming lectures. After this lecture we will discuss more about this project in detail. So with this we have come to the end of this lecture. I wish you all the best, and you can go and refer this website, and you should download actually some of this literature, and you should actually read it in your leisure time for your understanding. So this will help you in visualizing how a rating activity takes place in any such actually project, and it should be beneficial for increasing your a capacity. So thank you all.